welcome to my hangar, everybody. And this in front of us is what 3.0 is going to be all about. Cargo. And lots of it. It's dotted all over the place in here. Now, as with a starter ship, you're going to need to be able to move this when Star Citizen Alpha 3.0 drops. You're going to need to move it for missions. You're going to need to go collect it. You're going to need to buy it and sell it, transporting it between locations, and all sorts of other wonderful activities that will help you to make in-game currency to buy different things. And also to repair and upgrade your ships. Now, with that said, the Aurora MR, or the Aurora Mark, is going to be one of the starter ships that a great many people begin with. It's the current Aurora offered in the starter package for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. So let's just take a quick look at it. Right, at the moment it doesn't look very much because it's missing its cargo pod. Now, its cargo pod, when it's released, will go in there. And it runs from this hook assembly all the way back to this hook assembly. It comes in two sizes. There's the small cargo pod that will carry 6 cargo units. Cargo units in Star Citizen are a measurement of volume rather than weight. And then there's the large cargo pod that will carry 10, and we'll look at those shortly. Not on the ship, unfortunately, because they're not yet available. This is Alpha 2.6.3, and they're not available in it. However, the Aurora starter ship is the Mark, the MR, and she's quite a good ship. She's a bit faster than some of the other models. She has a 155 speed rating in normal SCM, or Space Combat Maneuvering, I think it's called, speed, whereas most of the other models are only 145. Now, the cargo box that goes under there, whether it's the mini or the big box, they're both, just for carrying cargo. The big advantage of the Aurora, and anybody in Star Citizen will tell you this, is that she has a bed which is in that back room that we can just see through the door there. But let's have a look at the outside of her first. One of the first things that you realize about the Mark after you get her is that she has no wing mounted weapons. Her only weapons are in fact these size 1 laser cannons mounted down here, one on each side. You can see the other one there. And up on the roof she has a size 1 to 4 missile hardpoint, and she comes default with 2 size 1 missiles. Now, that's not to say that you can't upgrade those. You could put a size 4 missile rack on there, for example a 441 or a 422, and you can mount larger missiles or more missiles up there, and we'll see an example of that again in a moment. To get into the ship, you just walk up to her, you press the F for Freddy key on your keyboard, the doors open, the ladder comes out, you walk up to it and you press F again, and you climb in the ship. And to get into the pilot's seat, you just move up. It's a bit tricky this at the moment. There we are. You can see the enter pilot prompt. And then you just press F again and you squeeze around into the seat and all your instruments light up. Now, we're not going to do that because once we do that, she starts drifting in the hangar quite badly. And in fact, when we look down there, we can see that she's drifting already. It's even worse if you get in the pilot seat. Now the bedroom. To get in the bedroom, you just press the control button to crouch down a bit, sort of shuffle forward a little bit, and where it's got the enter ship prompt, you press the F key again. And sometimes it makes you do that, which is inconvenient if you're in space. But EVA or extra vehicular activities is all part of the game, so I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see if we can get it to just register properly. Come on. Come on. And this is one of the bugs or glitches that they're fixing when 3.0 drops, we are told. There we go. Got it. So it's a bit like being a kid on a school trip. You crawl into your bunk, lie yourself down, and you can look out the window at the universe passing above you. To get out again, you just hold down the F key, and the animation begins and lets you out of the bunk. Now, why am I making such a big fuss about a bed? It's just a bed. Well, in Star Citizen, if you don't want to return to base when you want to log out of the game and go to your own bed or go to school or work or the shops or whatever it is you want to do, if you want to stay in the last position that you and your ship were at, you need to have a bed in order to log out. So that's a very quick look around the Aurora MR. She comes with two size 1 power plants to provide electricity to run all the systems, and she comes with two size 1 coolers to keep everything cool. Now there's something, I've forgotten what the stat is and I can't remember it, but there's something about the MR which means that her EM and infrared signatures are a little bit lower than the other Auroras in the range. Not a lot, but just enough so that it's noticeable, which makes it harder for enemies to get missile locks on you if you're being attacked or you've voluntarily gone into combat. Now, if we find the floor point, there it is, I can square her up by clicking on that floor point, telling my mobi-glass to remove her and then put her back. Bounce. Quite a spectacular bounce. Okay, so that's the Aurora MR. We'll look deeper at her stats and capabilities shortly, but before we do that, let's just find another floor point. There's one. And what we'll do, you'll find very quickly that you want to upgrade from the MR, and possibly the first most worthwhile upgrade is to the Aurora LN or Legionnaire. There she goes. Right, the Legionnaire is or was billed as the militia version of the Aurora. She's designed for a bit more fighting capability. She's got a different engine. You can see there, if we look at the side and then we look at the rear of it, you see the thruster exhausts there, and if we quickly run round and look, you can see the side of the MR's engine doesn't look that different except for this bit, and when we get to the back, it's very different at the back. Yeah, they're actually in-game lore, they're different makes of engine. You can see there the triangular ports on the LN, whereas this one, oh come on, has got the square ports. So definitely a different engine. However, once we get underneath the back here, the same mounting points for cargo boxes, and she will take both the mini and the big box, and two size 1 coolers. I can't remember if they're different or not. It's not important right now. we'll go into that shortly, and 2 size 1 power plants, which again I think are different to the ones on the MR, different manufacturer. Now looking at her from this angle, you can see immediately that there's quite a difference in weaponry. For a start, she's got these big bad boys on the wings. These are 2, 1 on each side, 2 size 2 mass driver cannons. Because they're cannons, they need ammunition, and you can see there's an ammunition box there. I think, have they got 2 ammunition boxes per cannon? There's one there. Yeah, 2 ammunition boxes per cannon, and it mounts onto a size 1 to 2 mounting point. Down here, you notice I've got different guns on here compared to the little pew-pews that are on the MR. And these are in fact Bulldog repeaters, size 1s. And she's quivering a bit there, she's raring to go. Up on the top here, I've mounted a 442 missile rack with 4 size 2 missiles. These are rattlers, which are very, very useful. Those little pencil things sticking out the front, when she's in proximity of the target, they fire out, burst through the shields, do some ballistic damage to the hull of the target, and then the main explosive warhead of the main missile goes off next to them. So you're getting 2 bursts of damage. Interior is very much the same as the MR. The chair's a different colour, but realistically that's about it. At the front end, everything else is almost identical. The bed, exactly the same and works the same way. Get into the right prompt, press F, the doors open, you crawl in, hold F to crawl out. Used for the same purpose again. On, jump down, thank you. Logging out at some point away from your base. You notice that the LN is a different colour. She's got this swanky green, white and gold colour on the wings, whereas the MR has simply got some rusty brown stripes over the silver wings. And that's it. That's the difference between the two. Now, if you're spending British money to get the MR starter ship plus the game plus the Squadron 42 single player campaign, which is a separate game entirely but uses all the same assets as Star Citizen, that's going to cost you just under £60 as at today's prices. And this is an upgrade. You trade in your MR and you get the Legionnaire, and that costs you £9.60. And then the bigger weapons and the better missiles, you just rent those for one of the in-game currencies from the rental store in-game, which you actually do on the website for the game's publisher. You don't do it in the game, but you're using currency that you've earned in-game in order to do that. So those are the 2 Auroras. The MR starter ship, which I can pretty much guarantee you will have very little luck fighting with. You can use it as a transport runner until you can get enough in-game currency to be able to upgrade weapons on this beastie, and by the time you've got the currency to upgrade weapons for this beastie, you'll be wanting to change from that one to this one. And currently in both 2.6.3 and in the upcoming 3.0 versions of the game, you're going to have to do that with real money. Once we get 3.1 drops, I believe you will be able to buy ships in-game using game currency. And if you can put up with the MR for long enough, then that might be something that you want to hold for 3 to 6 months, get used to the game, get used to everything that's going on, and then upgrade to this within the game. So those are the two starter Auroras. Let's go and take a look at some of the official information that's pushed out by CIG, the game's developer, regarding these. We'll start with the Aurora family video.
So I was looking at the new Aurora, but then I was thinking maybe I should get something that looks a little classy. But then I was like, no, I need something that can pull some serious weight. Maybe I don't need all that cargo space. What about the Legionnaire? Now we're talking. How about some bigger guns? Little bigger. No, little bigger. There you go. And maybe some rockets too. Actually, I should probably upgrade the power plant. I did like the leather seats on that LX though. Yeah, perfect. All right, let's see what this baby can do. Do need bigger cargo.
RSI's Aurora. There are many like it, but this one is yours.
Okay, so that was a very pretty video. Let's just take a look at some of the stats on the Aurora family as originally launched and currently in game. There are 5 models: the Essential, the Mark, the Clipper, the Legionnaire and the LX. They all have the same physical dimensions, the same crew capacity and slightly different weights between them, the Clipper, the Legionnaire and the LX being the heavier ones. They originally were launched with different roles. The Essential was for exploration, the Mark was for interdiction, the Clipper was mercantile, the Legionnaire was militia or patrol, and the LX was exploration or light mercantile. Now, that is not the roles that I would say that they were actually suited for, but we'll come to that in a moment. Structural features, upgrade capacities, that seems to be a classification that disappeared from language within Star Citizen. The cargo capacity, however, is quite important. The Clipper came with a 10-ton cargo capacity and the other 4 came with a 5-ton cargo capacity. Now it's important to note that that capacity is not internal to the ship, it's external on the cargo boxes. And if you look at the bottom of the table, you see that while the Clipper came with a Stor-All big box cargo pod, the other 4 ships all came with a Stor-All mini cargo pod. Now it's listed under additional equipment, and there's a bit of a disagreement currently in the Star Citizen community as to whether that means that it was included or not, whether it was something that you got with the ship or whether it was something that you had to buy later. The ship matrix, which gives all the statistics in game for the ships, up until the new matrix arrived about 3 weeks ago in October 2017, just before, on the day before CitizenCon, it said that they all got this. They came with these cargo pods. And at the time, it also said that the Clipper had 23 SCUs, or standard cargo units of capacity, and the other 4 Auroras all had 13 SCU capacity. So everything about it said that they came with it. The current ship matrix says that only the Clipper comes with cargo capacity, and it only comes with 6 SCU and a mini Stor-All box. So that has changed, and we're waiting for clarification from CIG, Cloud Imperium Games, with regard to that, because there's no point selling any of these ships as starter ships for hauling cargo if they can't actually haul cargo straight from receipt. If you've got to go out and buy something to put on them to make them cargo haulers, then how can you do that if you've not yet earned any money in the game to buy those items? The power plants, engines, maneuvering thrusters and shields are all pretty much identical in terms of capability. We'll come on to speed a little bit later when we look at the new ship matrix. In terms of hard points, they all have 2 size 1 hard points underneath the cockpit. Those guns that are on the legs sticking out from underneath the cockpit, which are affectionately known as whisker mounts in the Star Citizen community. Only the Legionnaire has additional weapon points on the wings, I believe. It might not be strictly true. Some people have said that some of the other, particularly the LX, I believe it is, and the Clipper, has got 4 weapon mounts, but we'll check that in the new ship matrix in a moment. The Legionnaire and the LX were the only versions that came with missiles. They both came with 4 size 1 missiles on a single rack above the cockpit. So this was the information that was pushed out. The Essential, the Mark and the Clipper, by the way, could mount missiles as well. It's just they didn't come with them. So that's the information we've all been working off up until 3 weeks ago. This was the configuration of the ships. Okay, so here's the new ship matrix on the robertspaceindustries.com website. And I've selected the 5 Auroras for comparison. The Aurora ES is now listed as a multi-role ship. The LX is listed as exploration. The MR, the starter ship, is now listed as transport. And the CL is transport. The LN, which was previously the militia policing ship, is now also listed as transport. So their roles have changed under the new ship matrix compared to what they previously were. And in the case of the MR, I would certainly agree with that. It was never an interdiction ship. Transport was its best purpose. The ES as a multi-role, again, I wouldn't really call it a combat ship. I would have had that as a transport as well. What is surprising is that the LX has been listed as exploration, whereas previously the CL came with a jump point engine for jumping between star systems. It was the only one that did. None of the others had it. They've all got it now. Sorry, I'm confusing you, and I'm confusing myself. The CL came with a jump point scanner for scanning jump points and finding them. It now no longer does. Not according to this matrix. They do now all come with a jump engine, and the Aurora LN, which as I said was previously the militia and policing unit, is now listed as transport, but it's still the most combat capable of the 5 ships. What else has changed on them? Well, if we look at the specifications, their sizes are still all identical. However, they're slightly smaller than they were. Their weights have been evened up. They're now all within 300-ish kilograms of each other, whereas previously there was about 2 tons difference between the heaviest and the lightest. The key metric is this one here, cargo capacity. If you notice, the only one that's got cargo is the Clipper, the CL. It's got 6 tons and it's a small cargo box. And you can just see on the image underneath that there's the cargo box. However, I think that's the big box shown in the image. And if you look just underneath the LN and just underneath the MR, you can see what appears to be the mini box. Now, I know that a couple of months ago, RSI and CIG, the makers and publishers of the game, said that they were having problems with the technical side of putting cargo items into the cargo container and getting them to stay locked to that container when that container was then an external element of a ship, and getting that container to stay locked to the ship. Now, this was not in terms of physical representation, this was in terms of the database and ensuring that the database was registering that your cargo was in your container and your container was attached to your ship. And therefore, the cargo boxes for the Auroras would not be appearing in 3.0 because they did not believe they could fix this issue prior to 3.0 launching. 3.0 is now significantly delayed, not just for that, but for many other reasons. And it may well be that they've managed to fix it because they're now declaring that the Clipper has 6 SCU of cargo capacity, which has to be in the external box. And if they've fixed it for the Clipper, surely that means that they've fixed it for the other 4 variants as well. Moving on, speed, SCM speed, space combat mode or space combat maneuverability, I can never remember. This is the standard speed, if you like, that you're moving at when you've got your undercarriage raised. And as I said earlier, the Legionnaire is a little bit slower than the MR. The MR is the fastest of the 5 at 155 meters per second. The Clipper and the Legionnaire are at 145, and the ES and the LX are at 150. In terms of afterburner speed, this is where you do not change direction and you just hit the boost and keep it going as fast as it can. There is some breakout differences. The ES at 1141 rating is a little bit slower than the LX, which has 1199. That in turn is slower than the MR, which is the starter ship and the fastest of the 5 in all respects. That's at 1212 meters per second now. It's actually meters per second acceleration, I believe. They're shorthanding it here. The Clipper, being the one that can carry the most cargo, reputedly, is quite slow at 1093, and the previous combat version at 1209 is about almost the fastest, but not quite. The MR still holds the speed record, shall we say. They're all one-person ships, but you can carry a second or third person standing behind the pilot in an emergency, but not for very long, because you've got to think about things like your air supply and stuff. The pitch and the various accelerations for strafing to the left or right, etc., up and down, are almost the same across the board. For some reason, the LX is showing a slightly higher forward and backwards strafing speed than the rest of the ships. So is the ES, really, compared to these three. No, it's not. Sorry, I'm misleading you. The MR is slightly faster. So they're all much of a muchness in general performance. It's only really these SCM and afterburner speeds that are varying. In terms of avionics, they're all identical. One small radar, one small computer. In terms of the propulsion units, they're all the same. 2 small fuel intakes, 2 small fuel tanks, a small quantum drive, a small jump module, and a small quantum fuel tank. So there's nothing to choose between them there. Thrusters, they're all the same. Systems, this is not your avionics, but this is the systems that power the ship. Apart from the make of the power plants, coolers, and the shield generators, they're all the same. Small power plant, 2 small coolers, 2 small shield generators. And the LN is supposed to have the best shield generator, whereas the MR has the best cooling. In terms of weaponry, this is where it gets interesting, because currently the LN has 2 size 1 and 2 size 2 fixed weapon mounts, and the others have got 4 size 1s according to this, which would be 2 on the whisker mounts and 2 on the wings. And as you can see, only the LN comes with the wing mounted weapons. The rest of them have only got the whisker mounted weapons. So that's a change. Previously not all of them had 4 weapons. Now they do, but they're all showing 4 size 1s, because that CF117 Bulldog is a size 1. So the LN looks to be losing its size 2 weapons, and they're being downgraded to size 1s. In terms of missiles, the LN keeps its 4 missiles, or its size 4 hardpoint. We'll check this in a moment when we go to the detail page. I believe these 4 have got a size 4 hardpoint, but only come with 2 size 1 missiles as standard. In terms of utility mounts, these are for the cargo boxes. The CL comes with the mini cargo box, and the other 4 have got the size 1 mount available. So let's just go to the detail page, and we'll start with the LN and work back. Being a little bit slow to load there. Okay. Now, one of the first things that we want to look at is the brochure, but we'll do that actually last. This brochure, if you download it, you can get all the details of the Aurora 2944 family, all of the information about how they've been sold for the last 3 years and their specifications. Comes down as a PDF. So we're looking at the Aurora LN, and there's a bunch of artwork. This artwork is the same for all of them, and that's definitely an LN. You can see the green, white and gold wings. It's carrying a large cargo box there. That's also an LN. That is that a large or a mini? I'm not too sure. It's almost a half and half. That's definitely an LN. Look again, look at the colour on the wings. You can see the cargo box down here. Judging by how far it's sticking out, that's possibly a mini. The LN again. Cockpit view, that's the current cockpit view. That's going to be changing. The HUDs and everything are getting changed, and the MFDs. Default weapons. The engine outlet and the Stor-All box in place. Now, I can't tell from that. That actually looks like it looks like it's saying 121 tons capacity, but I can't believe that's true. Auroras have never been able to lift that weight. So there we go. That's some artwork there. Let's just have a quick look at the technical overview. Right, the LN has got 2 size 2 weapons. So it does actually have 2 size 2 weapon mounts. Those will be on the wing. But it comes with size 1 weapons mounted there, and it's got 2 size 1 weapons, which will be the whisker mounts. It's got a size 4 missile hardpoint, and it comes with 4 missiles, or a rack for 4 missiles, and they are size 1s. Got the utility mount. Everything we talked about earlier, the 2 fuel intakes, the 2 fuel tanks, all smalls, etc. However, in here it says nothing about cargo capacity, and this is where the community is seriously concerned, because the starter level ships are all supposed to have cargo capacity, or at least the Auroras are. And if we look at the holo viewer, it just takes a second to load. You can see that it's definitely got a cargo box, and that's a large cargo box installed underneath. And you can see the 4 weapons, 2 on the wings, 2 on the whisker mounts, plus the 4 missiles. Okay, so let's then go to the clipper, the Aurora CL. And because of the way the page works, I've got to scroll back up to get the things. Now, the artwork on this page does change a little bit. You can see the wing colours are different. It's got the large cargo box there. It's got the small weapons on the whisker mounts. There's nothing on the wings. You can see it a bit more clearly there. And you can see there's definitely nothing on the wings here. The engine at the back is different. Definitely a different wing pattern, even a different wing shape and structure here. This V-shaped or triangular shaped area here where the wing dips down does not show like that on the LN. And again, you can see here there's no wings on, no guns on the wings. Same cockpit view. That's just a generic picture for the whisker mounts, but they've coloured it for the clipper. You see the engine outlet is very different to the 2 that I showed you in the hangar, and judging by how far back from the rear of the ship that is, that's the small cargo box. So down here it shows as 2 size 1 weapons and 2 size 1 weapons. So that'll be 2 on the wings and 2 whisker mounts, and only a size 2 missile point above the cabin. Same size 1 utility mount for the cargo box. Everything else here is the same. Specifications: 6 cargo capacity. And on the holo viewer, I believe that's exactly the same hologram as we saw for the LN. Everything looks identical, the same weapon types, same weapon positions, same number of missiles, which we know is not true because it's only got a size 2 missile hardpoint. It can't carry 4 missiles. Right, so they're just using the same asset in the holo viewer, even though it says Aurora CL at the top. So let's just jump to the MR. Scroll back up to the top. MR, exactly the same weapons as the Clipper. 2 size 1s and 2 size 1s. It'll be wing and whisker. And a size 2 missile hardpoint that can carry 2 missiles. Size 1 utility mount for the cargo box. Everything here is the same, but in specifications, no cargo stated. Now note that it doesn't say 0 or nil. Therefore, I believe it does have the cargo ability, but they've not filled in the data. Same as with the LN, with the Legionnaire. The holo viewer again is exactly the same model, I believe. Yeah, the 4 weapons and the 4 missiles. So again, they're just using the same cargo box. They're using the same holo viewer model for all of the variants. Let's have a quick look at the LX. LX again, 2 size 1s, 2 size 1s, but this time it's got a size 3 missile hardpoint. So it can carry 2 size 3 missiles, or 2 size 2 missiles it would be. Size 1 utility item for the cargo box. Everything else over here is the same. Specifications again, no data for cargo. And I really don't believe that that means 0. I believe that that just means they haven't filled in the data yet. And if we go to the ES, which is the last one, again, the same as for the Clipper and for the MR. The ES has 2 size 1s and 2 size 1s, which will be wing and whisker, and a size 2 missile hardpoint carrying 2 size 1 missiles, 1 utility hardpoint for the cargo box. Everything else over here is the same, and again, no cargo capacity listed. And I can guarantee if we look at the holo viewer, it'll be exactly the same holo viewer image that we've seen for all the other models. There we go. Yeah, the same 4 weapons mounted, the same 4 missiles mounted. So they haven't updated the holo viewers. They're using the same model for all 5 variants, even though there's only one of the variants that can carry 4 missiles. So that's those, and down here it's the same artwork that we saw before. This, I believe, because of the wing, is the new 2947 styling for the Auroras. It does look slightly different just along the top center here, and also this curve on this front rail looks a little bit different. So let's just have a quick shift at the artwork that they're showing over here. Yeah, because my LN definitely does not have that heatsink up there, and it does not have these sticking out intakes. So possibly these photographs are the new models. Come on. All of this data is the same as in the ship matrix, but it shows that it's important when looking at the models, looking at the variants, to look here to see what the maximum it can load is, because it does not come with its maximum weapons. It comes with a cut down default loadout, and you can increase the number of weapons. So that's a look at the ship matrix and the ship details pages. Let's have a look at the new commercial for the new 2947 Aurora family. And just in case you're wondering what that means, basically Star Citizen is set 930 years into the future. If you add 930 to the year 2017, you get 2947, which is when this new family of Auroras have been launched. So we'll have a look at those, and then we'll just do a wrap up on the video.
Let's start at the small amount, right? The new Aurora, perhaps.